I haven't forgotten about the non-football Ohio sports teams. Just been moving around the past few days, but I'm right back here to do some updates on a couple teams, starting with the Crew. They won a big match against New England 2-1 on the road. It was Diego Rossi putting the Crew up 1-0 in the first half, but the Rebs would equalize early in the second half, and it did look like they were playing to a draw, but it was Amundsen sneaking in a shot off of a corner kick to pretty close to the 90th minute, and New England could not answer in stoppage. Amundsen will actually have to miss the next match for the Crew due to yellow card suspension. So the Crew are now fourth in the East. They are a point above New England, who they have 3 matches to play as opposed to the Crew, who only have 2 left. So if both teams won out, New England would still end up above the Crew in terms of points. Not great in terms of trying to clinch home field advantage for the first round series. They could still climb above Philadelphia if the Crew went out in Philadelphia, have a couple bad results. But they did show that they could pull off a win on the road over a quality opponent, which if they do end up 5th or lower, that's what they'll have to do in the MLS postseason. But I'm just happy to see them make the playoffs in general after the past couple years with Caleb Porter after the MLS Cup win has been a little bit tough on that front as far as trying to make the postseason goes. They haven't been able to do it for the past couple of seasons. Just the fact that they will be able to have those playoff matches to look forward to. So even if the last few matches aren't very encouraging, at least there will be at least 2 more with a clean slate in the playoffs for Crew fans to watch. You also have the Blue Jackets, who have played a few more preseason games and had some training camp updates since I've last talked about the Blue Jackets there. Results in the preseason games aren't really important. It's more about just trying to notice some trends of who's working well together, who isn't, who's really pushing to, if they're on the bubble, who's really pushing to remain on the roster and who isn't. So I'll start with the goaltending. Jet Greaves has honestly been the best goalie out of training camps. Looked that way in some of the preseason games based on some of the observations from people who have attended a lot of training camp practices have come to that same conclusion as well, which is good for Jet Greaves, who was assigned on loan to the Cleveland Monsters. Not really a surprise there. Maybe not the best look for the season as the Blue Jackets, if they want to have a chance of contending for anything, something that's going to have to happen is Elvis Merzlikins is going to have to rebound into form. I think Elvis has had a bit of an up and down preseason. Again, preseason results aren't necessarily indicative of what regular season performance will look like, but you would rather see Elvis performing super well in the preseason than not. You also have Daniil Tarasov, who was the ideal backup. He's been injured coming into camp and hasn't gotten off of the injury list, hasn't played a lick of practices or preseason games in training camp so far. So even when he comes out of injury, you do want to get him back up to hockey shape to make sure he's ready to play. So right now it's looking like Spencer Martin might be the backup, which is definitely not what the Blue Jackets were hoping for coming into the season. They're still playing Patrick Laine at center. It's something that they're trying out. It seems like Patrick Laine is really motivated to be there. They've had some good results in the preseason, and the few regular season games he did play at center last year actually didn't go all that bad as far as how Laine did at the position. Face-offs are probably going to be the biggest glaring flaw in his game. I do feel like his play in the defensive zone has gotten a little bit better year by year. I mean, he's not going to be contending for any Selke Award or anything anytime soon, but I do feel like his effort in the defensive zone has gotten better and better each year he's been in Columbus. The Justin Danforth, coming back from a major injury he suffered early last season, he looks really good. He seems like he's earning his spot on the team. You also have a couple of youngsters in Matejchuk and Jiricek. Man, they could play in the NHL sometime this year. Maybe they don't start out in the NHL, but with Matejchuk and Dumais not getting those CHL exemptions, so if they're not going to be playing with the Blue Jackets, they're going to have to be playing in juniors. A bit unfortunate, but the likely outcome there. Just a matter of if the organization really feels like they want to make room for guys like Jiricek and Matejchuk, especially if Matejchuk's only going to be there for 9 games. Does the organization really try to risk sending somebody else on waivers down? Also, in more injury news, no update on Yegor Chinakhov after he went down day-to-day with an injury and a back issue. I'm thinking with the time he's missed in training camp and with where he was at the end of last season, he probably starts with the Cleveland Monsters. Not the biggest deal. I'm guessing Yegor Chinakhov will get plenty of NHL minutes by the time the season's over, but they did only sign a 1-year extension with Chinakhov. Chinakhov kind of betting on himself, and if he doesn't really make as much of an impact in the NHL as he anticipates, whether it's because of his play or just because if he's dealing with injuries on and off, the Blue Jackets might have a lot more negotiating power after this year comes up with his contract than not. But that's going to do it for this video. Just a couple of quick updates to fill the time before these two teams start their regular season. I also hope to do a Blue Jackets goaltending preview, and I do hope to get a preview of the Cavs starting and potential bench lineups as the NBA season gets close to starting as well. Thank you again for watching. If you did make it this far into the video, leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed it and you would like to see more like it. I'll see you at the next one.